First, if we start looking at the broader picture, Bitcoin has experienced significant growth over the years. In 2017, its value was around 1,000 per coin compared to nearly like almost 100,000 today. So it's a big increase. And since the beginning of the year, its value has increased by nearly 130%, with a 40% surge, as you mentioned, following the US presidential elections. And if we look at the overall cryptocurrency market capitalization, it's around $3.4 trillion today, which is huge. And this growth can be attributed to a combination of factors, including obviously the US elections, but also some macroeconomic factors like the Fed interest rate cuts, and I would also say some evolving global dynamics and geopolitics. So recently, we had some increased institutional interest, which is favorable, with regulatory development and pro-crypto at one point, which can also play a role in supporting its rise.
Marian, I want to pick up on the political side and the regulatory side, because a number of members of Trump's transition team have a lot of exposure to various different cryptocurrencies and stablecoins. Some of those names are likely to be part of the future administration if there is Senate approval. Can I ask you what this means in terms of some of the support for cryptocurrency from here? What sort of changes at a regulatory side? What sort of green lights would they need to see in the sector for this to suggest that the gains we've seen are sustainable?
So Trump has taken a strong pro-crypto stance during his campaign, especially he mentioned that in July during the Nashville Bitcoin conference. He pledged to turn the US into the crypto capital of the planet and a global Bitcoin superpower. And actually, he proposed to create a Bitcoin and crypto presidential advisory council. He also suggested to replace current SEC chair Gary Gensler. He has also floated the idea of adding Bitcoin to US reserves. And what we think a Trump presidency could transform the crypto market by probably expecting regulatory clarity, which would encourage institutional participation much higher. It could also improve market infrastructure, and it could foster broader adoption. Trump's approach appears pragmatic and pro-innovation. So if we have some leadership changes within the regulatory bodies, it could also ease scrutiny on cryptocurrencies.
Marian, who's buying Bitcoin? And what are the volumes looking like? When I go on and do my cursory search on Bitcoin volumes, I look at a chart and they look abysmal to compare to where they were a couple of years ago. But every bit of copy I read, which happens to be in the Bitcoin press, tells me about surging volumes. So what's the truth?
So volume has clearly surged, like the market cap. And actually, we see some correlation between the volume and the price clearly. So depending when you look at, like a week ago, it was around like 400 billion for the last 24 hours. But if I look at who is investing, so we have some institutional investors, but we also have some retail people investing. And according to our own DBD proprietary survey, we have around like 60% of American consumers who have already invested in cryptocurrencies, and it's much lower in Europe. We have around 10% retail customers which have invested in cryptocurrencies.
Let's go back a couple of stages, Marian. Sorry. Why Bitcoin and not one of the other 13,000 plus cryptocurrencies out there? What's so special about Bitcoin apart from the fact it's better marketed?
It's a very good question. So, I mean, what I found fascinating in the crypto industry is like, if you look at all the market caps, so Bitcoin represents around like half of the market cap of all cryptocurrency. It's huge, and it has almost always been the case since many years. And I explained that by the fact that we have this first mover advantage. It was the first one. It's very well known. I consider Bitcoin more as an investment tool. And I also think that many people look at Bitcoin, they know Bitcoin, they invest in Bitcoin, and it's kind of the digital gold in some ways that we have these days. And if we look at history, Actually, people have always had the need to invest in one asset which is different than, which doesn't belong to the government, and many people have invested in Bitcoin these days. Yeah.
Marion, let's just get into the idea of Bitcoin being used as some sort of strategic reserve in the United States. FT had a piece on this the other day saying it sort of really culminated in the strategic Bitcoin reserve is not a resilient strategy for the US. In fact, they talk about having storage costs, and this is just not something that is workable in practice. What do you think?
So indeed, Trump has floated the idea of adding Bitcoin to US reserves. I think we are far from it, to be honest. I'm not sure, again, that's not our decision, but I think, practically speaking, there is a lot to go that way. And actually, even like when we look at the current valuation, I think it's clearly very, very high. And we shouldn't forget that major reforms will require congressional approval and time, which makes these ambitious long-term goals more or less achievable. And there is also some potential turbulence of these reforms to fall short of market expectations. But again, I see regulation as a net positive for the industry. If we have more regulation, we have a clearer framework, clearer context, it should drive institutional investors. And if we have more investors, more liquidity, more investment, ultimately it should help to address and to decrease the volatility issue.